Anne was a young girl who had no parents. She lived all alone in a small, old hut that once belonged to her late mother and father. Her life was full of pain, sorrow, and deep loneliness. She had no one to call family, no brothers, no sisters, no uncles, and no aunties. Every day felt like a heavy burden to her. She often sat outside her small hut, resting her chin on her knees, talking to herself and crying softly. Her eyes were always filled with tears, and her heart full of pain. Why was I even born into this kind of life, she would say to herself. Why didn't I come into a family that had love, money, and happiness? A family that would hold me, guide me, and care for me. I was not only born into a poor home, but I also lost both of my parents so early. They left me here to suffer all alone in this hard world. Is this how my life will continue? Is this really how my story will end? Sometimes she would look up at the sky and speak to God with all the strength left in her heart. God, please help me. Send me someone who will see me, love me, and lift me from this suffering. Even if it's a stranger, a helper, or even a husband, please let someone locate me. I am tired of crying myself to sleep every night. Each day came and went, but nothing seemed to change. Still, Anne never stopped hoping. She believed that maybe, just maybe, one day her prayers would be answered. She believed that her story would not end in tears. And so Anne continued to wait, to hope, and to pray, not knowing that her life was about to take a very surprising turn. One quiet morning, as Anne sat alone outside her small hut, her heart heavy with sorrow, she remembered a story she once heard from a village woman. It was about a powerful old witch who lived deep inside the forest, a woman known to have strange powers and secrets that could change people's lives. Though many were afraid of her, desperate people often went looking for her, hoping to find solutions to their problems. Without thinking twice, Anne stood up, cleaned her face, and tied her wrapper tightly. She whispered, I have nothing to lose. Let me go and see if this old witch can help me out of this suffering. She walked through the thick forest, crossing rivers and dodging thorns until she reached a dark part of the woods where silence ruled. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew around her, and a voice said, Come in, my daughter. Anne stepped into a small hut covered in black cloth and dried leaves. Inside, the air smelled of strong herbs and strange perfumes. There, sitting on a carved wooden stool, was an old woman with long gray hair, sharp eyes, and a mysterious smile. What do you want, my child? The witch asked in a deep, calm voice. Anne fell to her knees. Mama, I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of suffering. Please, help me. I need a change in my life. I'm ready to do anything. The witch looked at her for a while, then slowly stood up and walked to a shelf. She picked up a small clay pot filled with thick, sweet-smelling cream. This, the old woman said, holding up the cream, is your way out of poverty. Anne stared at it with curiosity. Every day, the witch continued, rub this cream gently all over your body. As soon as you step outside, men will be drawn to you like bees to honey. They will chase after you. But be careful. Once any man gives you attention and you respond, his manliness will vanish and appear inside your hut, waiting. Anne gasped. His manliness? What will I do with it? The witch nodded and said, Each evening, gather all the manliness in your hut and pound them into a fine paste using a big wooden mortar. From that paste, make a new kind of cream. This cream, when applied by older people, will make them look younger. They will rush to buy it from you. People from different lands will hear of your magic cream and come looking for it. You will become so rich that you will build mansions, ride big cars, and live like a queen. Anne's eyes widened in amazement. Is that all? The witch's face turned serious. But listen carefully. Never allow any of the manliness to remain untouched till the next day. If you do, everything will disappear, and you will lose all your wealth. Not just that, you will return to poverty and die miserably. Remember this. Anne stood up, shaking slightly, but she nodded quickly. I understand, Mama. I will never forget. Thank you so much. The old woman handed her the cream and pointed toward the forest path. Anne bowed in gratitude, left the hut, and walked home with a heart full of excitement. For the first time in a long time, she felt powerful. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but one thing was certain. Her life was about to change in a very strange way. When Anne returned home from the forest that day, she looked at the small clay pot of cream the witch had given her. Her heart was racing with excitement. She went inside her tiny hut, closed the door and carefully rubbed the thick, sweet-smelling cream all over her body. As she stood in front of her small, broken mirror, she stared at her glowing skin and smiled proudly. "So this is what beauty feels like," she whispered. "Now I have arrived. I will show men pepper. All those men who disturb women without peace, I will deal with them one by one." With her confidence high and her beauty glowing like the morning sun, Anne stepped out of her hut. Immediately, men from all corners began to flock around her. Some chased her on foot, some came in cars, while others stood in shock admiring her beauty from afar. They called her sweet names, offered her gifts, and begged for her attention. But Anne knew exactly what she was doing. She smiled at them, laughed softly, and chose the ones she wanted. Some she followed home, others she invited into her world. But one thing was sure. Every man that got close to her soon discovered something strange. After spending time with Anne, they would feel weak, confused, and powerless. Their manliness would disappear without warning. Meanwhile, back in Anne's hut, their manliness would appear one by one. Anne would return home quietly in the evening, gather all the manliness into her big mortar, and begin to pound them into a fine paste. It was hard work, but she did it every day without fail. Once the paste was ready, she used it to make a cream that worked like magic. She poured the cream into fine containers and began to hawk them around the village. Old men and women would rush out, begging to buy from her. The moment they applied the cream, their wrinkles would fade, their gray hair would shine, and they would look years younger. Word spread like wildfire. People came from nearby villages and even from faraway towns to buy Anne's magical cream. Money began to pour in. Anne became so rich that she moved out of her small hut and built a massive mansion in the heart of the village. She bought flashy cars, wore gold and diamond jewelry, and dressed in the finest clothes. Everyone in the community admired her. Some praised her, others envied her, but no one knew the dark secret behind her wealth. Anne opened a large cream shop painted in bright colors. Every day the shop was filled with old men and women begging to buy her cream. They never missed a day. To them, Anne was a miracle worker, but to Anne, it was just business. But one night, something unexpected happened. Anne came back late, completely tired from the day's activities. She had gathered so many manlinesses that day, but her body was weak. "Let me rest for a while," she said to herself. "I will pound them in the morning before sunrise." She laid on her soft bed, stretched her body, and closed her eyes. She didn't even know when she fell into a deep sleep. When morning came, the cock crowed loudly. Anne slowly opened her eyes, but something felt different. She sat up and looked around. The fine bed was gone. The golden curtains, her flat-screen TV, her dressing mirror, her wardrobe, and her jewelry, everything had vanished. She was no longer in her mansion. She was back in her tiny, broken hut. No, no. Anne screamed in horror. She ran outside, barefoot, but the shop was gone. The cars had disappeared. Her big compound was no longer hers. She rushed to where her mansion stood, only to find grass and empty land. Anne cried and cried until she could cry no more. She had forgotten the witch's warning, never allow the manliness to stay overnight. And now, everything she worked for had disappeared in one single night. She fell to the ground, shaking, helpless, and heartbroken. Her heart couldn't take the pain. Her breath slowed down, her eyes closed, and there, on the bare ground in front of her old hut, Anne gave up the ghost. That was the end of Anne, the girl who wanted to escape poverty but used a dark path to do it. Moral lessons. 1. Be careful what you wish for. Quick success without hard work often comes with a dangerous price. 2. Never build your life on deception or hurting others. Sooner or later, the truth will catch up with you. 3. Every shortcut in life has a hidden cost. Patience and honesty are better paths to lasting success. 4. Always remember the warnings you are given. One act of carelessness can destroy years of blessings. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this story of Anne the orphan girl. If you enjoyed it and learned something from it, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. More interesting and powerful stories are coming your way. Stay connected and keep supporting us. God bless you, and see you in the next story.